there's been a lot of debate in the Sonic community recently, so it's time for me to put my 2 cents into the ring on what I feel about Sonic 06 getting a remake. Now, this came about due to an interview done at a Sonic fan meet in Indonesia. So at this fan meetup was Shu Nakamura, who's the producer for Sonic X Shadow Generations. There was also Katsuyuki Shigihara, who is the director for Sonic X Shadow Generations, and Kazuyuki Hoshino, who is the series creative director and character supervisor of Sonic as a whole. So these three were at this meetup. And they were asked a bunch of questions. Right? They had a panel. It was mainly focusing on Sonic X Shadow Generations. You know, they talk about white space and the Doom powers and all that type of stuff. You know, there's some really interesting stuff there. Like, for example, Hoshino said that with the reveal of Eggman and Maria's extended family being their fathers, and the fact that Maria had a sister, all that stuff, and the fact we know about their occupations, you know, how it's most likely Maria's father was an archaeologist and Eggman's father was a roboticist. Hoshino has thought of a possible Eggman spin-off game and maybe a Robotnik family drama. Of course, it does say here, these are just ideas, right? The ideas and wishes doesn't mean they're actually happening. It's like, but he'd like to do something more exploring the Robotniks. And, you know, they mentioned that white space was not initially as big as it was. You know, it was much smaller. But the big thing here was that they were asked if Sonic Team had any more remakes or remasters in the works. You know, they brought up, you know, Heroes, Adventure 1 and 2, obviously they're the big ones. But Shu Nakamura, his answer was that he has previously wished to remake Sonic 06. You know, that's what he wants to do. He wants to remake Sonic 06. And from that, the fandom has just had a massive freaking, you know, debate on whether or not 06 should get remastered. You have people who are for it and people who are against it. So let's talk about it. I personally feel that a remake of Sonic 06, I believe it can happen. And I think I personally would be on board with it. Now, the big reason that I wasn't a fan of the changes that were made in Sonic Generations was that this was supposed to be a remaster. This is not a remake. This is a remaster of Sonic Generations. And they were changing and tweaking dialogue stuff. Like, and most of them were for the better. You know, Sonic and Tails now know what Green Hill is. They know about the chemical plant. Sonic mentions the time stones. All this stuff that, you know, brings the universe more in line with, you know, what it is, references past events. Ian Flynn is very good at doing stuff like that. I was against the changes made to Amy Rose because, like I said, I was more concerned about her as a character. She can be the new character that we see in Frontiers where, you know, she's found herself a lot more determined. She still likes Sonic, but that's not her defining trait. She can be that going forward, you know, but if we go back to the past when she was an obsessive fangirl and you change that then makes all her progress to being a new, developing to a much better character irrelevant because, oh, she was always that way. That's my main problem. Sonic 06, if we remake it, we're gonna have none of that because goddamn is Sonic 06 a mess. You know, it's just a mess. It had a good idea, right? We can all agree that conceptually, Sonic 06, it sounds awesome on paper. You know, bringing in Silver the Hedgehog, who is a hedgehog from the future, and he's coming back in time to stop the disaster, you know, that caused his future to be a fiery inferno and all this stuff, right? He's gone back in time to stop that, and he thinks Sonic is the catalyst for it, so he's got to take down Sonic. Meanwhile, you have Elise and Iblis and all that stuff to deal with. Shadow comes in, we have Mephiles, you know, the big bad, and you have all the time travel shenanigans with, like, Shadow and Silver going back in time to encounter Mephiles, all this stuff. You have all these ideas there that conceptually sound great on paper. They just were executed poorly. It's more of a thing of good idea, poor execution, I believe, is Sonic 06's freaking, like, legacy. You know, the idea for the gameplay, too, it looks conceptually, you could see what they were trying to do. It was more of an adventure-style gameplay, is what they were trying to do. Obviously, it didn't work because this game was rushed out the door, and this game is riddled with bugs, so it doesn't work. And the stages are just a mess. You know, design-wise, they look cool. They're good design-wise, but again, playing it is not good. This game bugs out like crazy. And the voice acting it's mid-2000s Sonic's voice acting. The voices are good, but just the acting is terrible because, you know, the direction was not good. And I feel like an 06 remake now would work because it would bring in line more of, you know, it would cast aside the ideas that we don't need anymore from Sonic, that we have kind of, that like Sega themselves like, yeah, that was dumb, we're gonna kick that to the curb. And it would bring it more in line with the canon. And it doesn't even matter really, even if they want to go wacky and crazy with it, because 06 writes itself out anyway, right? Like it writes itself out. The events of 06 happen and then they just don't happen because they get rewritten, right? Like they're taken out of the timeline. They don't actually happen. So it doesn't matter in the end, right? Because it just gets rewritten. It gets taken out of timeline, so it doesn't really matter. So they do have a bit more leeway to completely just redo the entire story of 06. Like, keep the basic premise, right? But change pretty much everything in it. They have the ability to do that, and it doesn't matter because it gets taken out of the timeline anyway. You know, it's like Sonic Prime. Sonic Prime can do whatever it wants because at the end of the day, it's meaningless. It gets taken out of time anyway, right? It doesn't actually happen. That's 06, you know? And I think there are many things they can do in this if they were to rewrite it that would make it much better. For example, let's not have Elise and Sonic be romantically involved. That'd be something I would be okay with. You know, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need Elise to kiss Sonic. How about we just don't do that? Gameplay wise, if they were to remake 06, I would say go with the Frontiers engine. I mean, that's the most likely engine to work, you know, especially because I get why some people like the idea of it being an adventure style, but Frontiers, more open world based style, I think that would work great for 06. Obviously, level wise, it would have to be more along the line. Yeah, level-wise, it could still work. It just had to be more like Shadow Gen's levels, you know, gameplay-wise than a Frontier style. But I think, like, you know, the open zone style gameplay would work for an 06 remake. Soundtrack-wise, you don't gotta do anything about the soundtrack. The soundtrack's awesome, okay? It's like every bad Sonic game. There would be a bad Sonic game, but at least the soundtrack's a banger, you know? So 06 has some of the most memorable music in Sonic history. You've got His World, which to this day is people's like favorite Sonic song ever made, and it's a banger. You've got oh my god, there's so many goddamn songs. You have the Dr. Eggman track, that's an iconic freaking Eggman track. I hear that thing freaking everywhere. Let's see what else we've got here. We got Wave Ocean. Wave Ocean is awesome. I love the Wave Ocean track. The freaking Dreams of Absolution, Silver Song, Crisis City, Kingdom Valley, Tropical Jungle. Like, there's so many songs in this. Flame Core. Need I remind you about the Solaris Phase 2? Like, come on, man. This soundtrack is awesome. You don't gotta change the soundtrack at all. The soundtrack can stay the same. My Destiny, Elise's theme? Yeah, the soundtrack is fun. You don't gotta change the soundtrack. In fact, I think people would Do you know how crazy people would go now, modern day, if they hear his world start playing? Oh my god. That'd be crazy. But yeah, you don't gotta change the soundtrack. But yeah, gameplay, I think a Frontier's gameplay would work. I think style-wise, how they would look, obviously keep what they look now, right? Because the way they look in that game is very odd. To me, personally, I think a lot of the characters, the way they look, the way they move, like in cutscenes and all that, it looks kind of just odd to me. So, and I think it's because they're trying to make them move more human-like, and it's so weird. So just make them look like how they look like now, right? Like, keep Sonic the way he looks now, keep Shadow the way he looks now, Silver the way he looks now, keep their modern designs, don't try to make them look more human-esque. I would do that. Obviously, the voice cast would have to be redone, and I think that is one of the biggest things people are against, is that, oh, you're erasing Jason Griffiths, you know, his portrayal of Sonic, and everyone else's portrayals, right? You're getting rid of them. I do understand that, and I understand why people would not be against it. Well, I mean, would be against it, you know, because they don't want to erase the portrayal. And I completely understand. But the way it is now is pretty much, you know, Roger Craig Smith is Sonic right now. For the foreseeable future, too. He doesn't seem like he wants to stop at any point, and Sega doesn't seem like they want to get rid of him at any point. So, again, and that's more keeping in line with the brand. You know, when people hear Sonic's voice, most people now just think of Roger. So having him do it would be the bet. You know, they have to use the current voice cast. Now, there is a possibility that they could get that old voice cast back, or at least some of them. You know, if they asked Jason Griffiths to come back to do an 06 remake, I think he probably would. You know, and maybe people would like that. I'm sure a lot of people would probably like that. Jason Griffiths is back. You know, but I think if they were to remake 06, we'd probably get the modern day voice cast doing the voices now. You know, just like look at what they did with the Generations remaster. They redubbed Sonic Generations with the new voice cast because they want it all to be more in line with what the current product is. So, if 06 were to have a remake, they would most definitely get the modern cast to do it. And I wouldn't, again, I'm not entirely against that. I mean, it would give Bryce Papenbrook a chance to actually voice Silver instead of saying like 5 lines. So, you know, there's that. It'd be good for him. You know, he gets to actually play Silver for more than 5 seconds at a time. That'd be nice for him. Yeah, you know, of course, the humans. We gotta talk about the humans. The humans just look off. You know, especially Eggman. Eggman looks freaking crazy in that game, because again, they tried to make it all look more realistic. Let's not do that. Eggman is the cartoonish, round, rotund, genius scientist that he is. Keep him looking the way he looks. Looks crazy. I would say definitely make the humans look more cartoony, like how they are in Shadow Gens, like Maria and Gerald definitely have a more cartoony look to them, which works with Sonic. That's the style we need to go with. And it does look like they are basing Gerald and Maria's likeness on like more like the Sonic Channel art. Maria definitely looks a lot like how she does in the Sonic Channel art. So I think that's the way to go. Keep that style of human character for the video games. So if they remake this game, definitely the humans should look a lot more like how the humans do in Sonic Gens. More cartoonish. You know, Elise has had, I believe, a picture in Sonic Channel, so she should look like that in this game. You know, keep them cartoony. You know, I think that's the best way. Don't go realistic. We don't need the realistic looking humans. This is a game with a hedgehog who runs at the speed of sound. You know, like, come on. This is cartoony in its nature. But anyway, that's just my basic rambling here about an 06 remake. I think it could work. You know, level design also, I don't even think we really need to change the level design. You can keep the level design exactly the same. Just upscale it more to fit how a modern game would look. You know, the level design doesn't really need to change either. There's not a lot of stuff that needs to be changed, but maybe like voice cast, definitely aesthetics, how it looks, and definitely the story. Who would write the story? Easily Ian Flynn would write the story. That's a no-brainer. This dude would fix that in a heartbeat. If you told Ian Flynn, hey Ian, your next task is rewrite 06 with the basic plot line, you know, bullet points still there, you know, Sonic still Sonic still gets stabbed through the chest by Knuckles. You keep all that, you know, like the basic big beats are there, but you can change up a lot of the things in there to make it more coherent. He would jump at the chance, and you know what, buddy? We'd get probably one of the best Sonic game stories ever, and everyone would be so mad that it is written out of the timeline. Guarantee you. But that's going to do it for me. What do you all think? Do you think we should get a Sonic 06 remake? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next time.